You know that phrase people throw around, I'd rather cry in a Bentley than be happy on a bus. It's supposed to be a joke. But what happens when the Bentley comes with bruises, broken boundaries, and a body count? I have seen the tweets. She stayed for the lifestyle. She didn't leave because she loved the luxury. And while I understand the skepticism, let's be honest, some women do really choose the bag over their peace. And I also wonder, are we missing something deeper? Are we looking at survival, trauma bonding, or just poor choices? Is it Stockholm Syndrome or a refusal to be accountable? Women have been called out for not taking accountability in relationships. And while we don't want to slip into victim blaming, we also have to admit some are culpable, some are aware, enabled, and complicit in cycles of dysfunction. And if we are going to talk healing and wholeness, we have to name that too. So today, we are stepping into that sacred tension between empathy and responsibility, between calling women victim and calling them out, especially when the man they stay with isn't just abusive, but rich, famous, and powerful. What is Stockholm Syndrome really? Stockholm Syndrome is a psychological response where a victim bonds with their abuser. It was first identified during a 1973 bank robbery in Sweden, where hostages began sympathizing with their captors. In abusive relationships, the abuser alternates between cruelty and affection, which confuses the brain. It creates emotional dependency, a survival tactic masquerading as love. This is not weakness, it is wiring. And it explains why even smart, capable women can stay in dangerous situations, especially when they are being manipulated emotionally and financially. Let's look at a few well-known stories, not for gossip, but for insight. She described horrifying emotional and physical abuse. She eventually left, but admitted how difficult it was. Despite her own fame and wealth, she was still trapped psychologically. After a brutal assault, many were shocked when she returned to him. This wasn't just about love, it was about shame, pressure, and the bloodlines between public image and private pain. A classic example of abuse, cloaked in control and fear. She left with nothing but her name, showing us the price some women are willing to pay for their peace. In recent years, we have seen multiple influencers and celebrities presenting perfect lives online while enduring abuse behind closed doors. Why do they stay? Sometimes it's fear. Sometimes it's financial comfort. Sometimes it's the pressure to keep up appearances. Why do women stay? There is no one-size-fits-all answer. Sometimes it could be fear of retaliation or violence, financial dependency or fear of poverty, love, hope, or the belief that it will change, religious or cultural shame, protecting their children, maintaining the family unit, public perception, and the fear of being judged or labeled a failure. And then there is what I call the struggle love narrative, where women are taught that suffering is a badge of honor in relationships. Religious communities often reinforce this by encouraging women to stay, submit, and pray, rather than leave, heal, and grow. Let's not ignore that some women stay because they want the perks. And in those cases, we have to talk accountability. You can be a victim and still have agency. And if we reserve empathy for only women who are poor, physically broken, we are saying rich women can't be hurt too, or worse, that they deserve it. We must hold spaces for compassion, but also ask hard questions. When does staying become enabling? When does forgiveness turn into foolishness? And when is the Bentley just a very expensive prison? As believers, we must remind ourselves, God does not call anyone into abuse. Jesus didn't model a love that destroys or enslaves. And the covenant of marriage is not an excuse for violence or manipulation. Yes, God hates divorce, but he also hates oppression. And sometimes, living is the only choice. Staying in what God never ordained is not submission, It is self-destruction. So what do you think? When a woman stays with a man that is abusive, especially one with money, fame, or power, is it manipulation? Is it trauma? Or is it lack of accountability? We need room for empathy without erasing responsibility. We can love women and still challenge their choices. Because healing only begins when we stop hiding behind justifications and start telling the truth. This has been Authors and Agendas. Let me know your thoughts. And remember, love should never hurt more than it heals.